Hey, what is up? Welcome to this episode of the Entrepreneur to Entrepreneur podcast. As always, I'm your host, Brian Lofermento, and we are all in for a treat today because we are joined by an incredible guest and fellow entrepreneur, someone who is very innovative, very digital and tech savvy, and someone who views business in a way that actually moves the ball forward. I'm so excited to introduce you to today's guest. Her name is Jessica Valenzuela. Over the past decade, Jessica co-founded GoGoGuest, which is a platform helping hospitality and restaurant brands grow smarter by leveraging data sources from internal systems. They built and grew a connected ecosystem where strategic partnerships and integrations became the most powerful distribution channel. From zero to more than 30 partners, Jessica and her team scaled through intentional collaboration. Today, Jessica is building Mowie, which is an AI marketing platform that leverages millions of unstructured external and internal business data for the purposes of crafting a brand strategy and hyper-targeted content across multiple channels and platforms. And I really love Jessica's story because her and her team, what they're doing at Mowie, this is the future. More and more, we're all going to start having unbelievable tools at our disposal that know us incredibly well and that can do outputs that help us to serve even more people and, of course, to grow our businesses, which is why we're all here. So I'm excited. We're going to learn a lot. I'm not going to say anything else. Let's dive straight into my interview with Jessica Valenzuela. All right, Jessica, I am so very excited that you're here with us today. First things first, welcome to the show.
Hi, Brian. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here as well.
Heck yes. I'm so excited to dive deep into your businesses, but first we have to start with you as the co-founder of Mowie. Take us beyond the bio. Who's Jessica? How did you start doing all these cool things?
Oh my goodness, it's a journey. So it started really when I think, way back when, as a 7-year-old, I've always wanted to I've always been really curious and really wanted to create. And I did that by identifying and seeing what is missing and what is inefficient. And at 7, I remember, doing this for my classmates, for my school, is that I basically saw how my classmates were buying chocolates from the canteen. It's very simple, really. And they were spending about 25 cents per chocolate. And I thought to myself, what if I actually brought a bag of chocolates and actually sold them at a lower price point? They save the walk to the canteen. They have it right in class. And so I did that, and I realized, and as you're doing that and you're getting paid, not that money was important at the time, it is important when you're building a business. I was just fulfilled at seeing how happy my classmates were and how I was able to fulfill a need and then generate money back to buy more chocolates. And from then on, I really just explored different avenues. And as I completed my career, or decided that I wanted to pursue entrepreneurship full time after being in advertising for a few years and in product marketing for a few years, I decided to start my business in advertising back in New York City. And then after a few years of that, sold that business and decided I wanted to build product, and ventured on to Silicon Valley, which led me to a mobile company, and then GoGoGuest, and then today to Mowie. So about, almost 2 decades of journey has brought us to this place, to building what we have built at GoGoGuest, and building the future, or building what is available today because of AI through Mowie.
Yeah, I love that overview, and I so appreciate it because it showcases for so many of us, we felt that entrepreneurial DNA long before we ever started our first businesses. And I think it's so important to listen to that calling and the fact that you have, and you've built really cool things along the way. Jessica, I want to call something out that almost slipped out of your mouth, and I tend to do this all the time on the air, which is when we talk about building the future, you pointed out it's actually available today. And that's what I think is so cool about this time period, about 2020 2026 is that a lot of these things we've been building, a lot of these things that we talk about, they sound futuristic, but thanks to technology, thanks to AI, these things are here. So introduce listeners to what Mowie is, because I really believe this here. I almost said it again, Jessica. This is the future of how we're going to operate from content, but this is the present. So introduce us to it.
Yeah. So I think, we saw the opportunities around data. I'm really, really passionate about utilizing data, which I believe is a very valuable resource that businesses have that is underutilized. And, with the onset of, not onset, but with the use of mobile and then cloud technologies in the past, few decades, and then now as AI is becoming more available to the consumer as well as the prosumers, you're seeing that what used to be a very, very challenging and difficult problem to solve in terms of answering questions about your business, or in terms of discovering opportunities, or planning ahead, we are seeing that data and AI really, really is able to bring things to the present, where you can actually define and listen to the signals that's available to the data in your data, and be able to utilize that for creating your strategy for building more relevant marketing campaigns and marketing programs across channels. And so when we saw these opportunities as we were working on GoGoGuest, we saw that we could really dive into bringing together millions of unstructured data, both that is available publicly and that is available in internal systems of companies like POS systems, Wi-Fi, your online ordering, and be able to clarify for the business what their strategy should be based on the signals that all these data sets have collected, and also create more relevant and more robust and personalized marketing content for the different audiences across the marketing lifecycle. And I can dive into examples in the next segment.
Well, Jessica, you mentioned something that I think we need to talk about more. You mentioned unstructured data, and I'll tell you, as someone who doesn't build SaaS companies, that has been a big mindset shift for me since the mass adoption of AI, is my realization of just how much data we have. Because traditionally, when marketers, for example, talk about data, we think about Google Analytics, we think about all of those things. But behind the scenes of this podcast, with ChatGPT's ability and AI's ability to handle so much data, we realize all of our transcripts are data. Every email we've ever gotten from listeners, that's data. All my Solo Sunday episodes that I create, that's data. We have all this data that finally, one, we recognize as data, and secondly, we can actually do something with it. Talk to us about that unstructured data, because I think most business owners overlook how powerful the things that we already have can be when it comes to leveraging AI for content creation, leveraging it for digital marketing and growth. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so it really formulated for us, like it came together, a little bit of it came together through different phases in terms of the capabilities that we're building into Mowie, or the way that Mowie can really help marketers across restaurant, retail, and DTC businesses today. And when you talk about unstructured data, you're really looking at just look at the customer reviews. One restaurant location can generate, and think about that when you have like one restaurant concept or two retail concepts, and then you have multiple locations, physical locations, plus you have your online presence. And so all those customer reviews across the different channels just really, really makes it overwhelming, for the marketer to be able to even understand and curate and really see the opportunities from the signals that the customer reviews can provide. So that's just one source of unstructured data. Now think about think about the site visits, or your menu, your online, your menu, as well as your product catalog online. Think about how people are engaging with that menu, and then at the same time, which menu items are actually generating the most purchases. And so that's another set of unstructured data. Now, behind the scenes, Mowie is basically able to collect all these different um, sources of unstructured data, and then listen to the insights within these, we call it artifacts or documents or sources, and look at the signals and then combine that and understand it in ways that actually brings out the opportunities, makes a business understand which products are selling the most during certain seasons, which products are the best products to combine with other products that's on the menu or the product catalog, or which campaigns are actually and content that's actually getting more engagement based on how that product is presented, or with what and what time of day, and what season. And so all of those is becomes a little bit more, less overwhelming, and a little bit more actionable. Not a little bit more, but I would just say actionable. And so Mowi brings all this together in one easy to use format, where we call it the business dossier. And the business dossier basically showcases an understanding of what your business is, who your competitors are, who your customer segments are, what they like about the business, who are the customers or audiences that are likely to buy when. And so there it becomes a little bit more predictable, because that data provides the signals, and then you can create actionable content and marketing programs around these signals.
Jessica, hearing the way you talk about this stuff, it's not lost on me how much you're able to pull from all of your previous life and professional experiences, because I feel like here you and I are talking about Mowie and what the future of content creation and digital marketing, all of that look like, but you pull so frequently from your experiences at GoGoGuest. It seems like your superpower is that obviously you've been in the game for as long as you have, and you've picked things up along the way. What did that look like behind the scenes for you? Because obviously growing GoGoGuest to the incredible level that you and your team have done so, it feels like, hearing it obviously on this side, it probably didn't feel that way in the minute, but it feels like it was a natural progression to build this type of solution. What did that progression look like? Where along the way did you say, hold on, there's more here, let's build Mowie, let's build this solution that we've seen across the hospitality and restaurant industry, and let's apply it in this manner? What did that look like?
Yeah, you don't build Rome in a day. So it was a discovery process for us. It was a lot of aha moments, and then our willingness as a small team to take a bigger bite of the apple. When we first started GoGuest, it was, we were looking at one data source really, and that data source was primarily, your access point, your guest Wi-Fi, wherein, our thinking is that you can do more with your investment with your internet technology and your Wi-Fi. And when people are sitting around in a coffee shop, you can better manage that and better manage the space. And space is to me, it's another resource, right? You put in capital there to make your space beautiful, but then, when people are just sitting, for 4 hours and buying and I used to do this too, buying a cup of coffee, that space is not really utilized for the revenue that, the potential of the revenue potential, right? And so it started there. And as we dove in more to, guest Wi-Fi information and data, we saw a lot of opportunity that businesses are not able to leverage. And then so our curiosity, without really changing the direction of the product, we would run internal experiments, with the engineering team and the design team and myself. And then from then on, we added POS systems, and POS systems, as we know, is very rich in data, and again under leveraged and underutilized. And so it was just building upon discovery, based on the different sources and systems, both internal and then external, that we really saw how challenged, and combined with the challenges that small marketing teams are experiencing when they know they have all this data and they know they have insights available to them. When you don't really have a lot of time in the day to run email marketing, that's good enough, that's really personalized, that's really targeted to the customer that you want to reach, it gets lost in all the business of that particular marketer. And so GoGuest helps with the internal data, then Mowie helps with all the signals and the strategy, and making it super easy to create all these marketing content that is more in the moment and attuned to what customers are really looking for at that time.
Yeah, I love the way you articulate that, especially because a few years ago when ChatGPT first came out, I feel like everybody was really questioning, how do we use this? How do we squeeze the most out of it? And we saw that very early phase where people were just kind of using it for fun. They were making action figure pictures of themselves and their friends. And then we started asking it basic questions as if it was merely just a search engine, as if it was just Google. But now, obviously, business owners all over the world are using it in much more powerful ways. And a lot of people already are using it to create social media content, but I feel like as part of that progression, a lot of us also got to the point, and I think this is going to be a big theme in 2026, we've all reached the point where we realize this is a generalized large language model. It can do a lot of things pretty well, but a lot of us are starting to pull on more specific AI tools and softwares and SaaS companies that are really good at the specific things we need it for. Talk to listeners about that difference between a Mowie versus just a ChatGPT that's going to do the things that we know that it's pretty good at, but not with that specialization.
Yeah. So that's a really great question, and thank you for asking that. With how we built Mowie, not only that it provides you with a strategic point of view of what your brand should be focusing on and how you're communicating about your brand. It also provides you with a content campaign calendar that's very attuned to how your audience and customers have engaged with your previous content. And then with that, it's actually the first piece that we worked on when we were building Mowie, and it took about, I want to say, 6 months, because we wanted the visual capabilities of Mowie to really be attuned to what restaurateurs are looking for, and to be for the visuals to be brand focused, and for it to be really, really super easy. And how we did that is that, not me personally, but, the engineering team, which is amazing, and my co-founder, Chris, he and our team have basically created Mowie's visual capabilities. So it looks like we have a built-in camera. So a customer starts with their own images, their images from their menu items that they've already used and they've already spent money in production. Let's just use a cupcake, for example. Like a cupcake that's utilized, a birthday cupcake that's utilized for the product catalog as well as the online ordering, can be utilized by Mowie and placed in different seasonal scenes. So a birthday cupcake can be used for a Valentine scene. Let's say you're celebrating a birthday during Valentine's, or a birthday cupcake that's also, for a 16, sweet 16 birthday. And so you can create a scene that's very focused on sweet 16. And so there's that level of customization and on brand focus that Mowie brings to the table that will be very hard to achieve when you're utilizing, ChatGPT or a Google or a Gemini with their visual tools available as well. Simply because within Mowie, a brand has a mini LLM that's just focused about their brand and their company because of all this unstructured data we've already gathered, not just about the context and the language, but also the visuals, right? And so within Mowie, a brand has access to their own, product catalog that they can place in different formats and angles. And so it's, our private beta customers have said it's just like it's better than an actual real camera lens that's taking a photo of their of their products. In fact, some of our private beta customers with really high-end products have used Mowie to edit photographs that were taken by an actual camera. And because of the capabilities of placement and shadows and recreating scenes, you can do it in a minute or two, depending on how complex the visual is. So.
Yeah, I love that. Jessica, I'm going to totally put you on the spot here because you get me really excited about what this year and beyond is going to look like across the board for all of us as business owners. And really what I think of is if I look back 5 years, I used to keep a running list, Jessica, especially with as many amazing entrepreneurs as I get to interview. I used to keep a running list of, okay, one day we're going to have, a head of HR. One day we're going to have a head of legal. One day we're going to have a social media agency that we can contract with. We're going to have a content writing agency. We're going to have all these different agencies that we pull from. Quickly, we're getting to the point where we can have all of those things through SaaS products, through amazing tools, through the power of AI. And really what I'm hearing from you as someone who's been in the game for, similar to you, almost 20 years at this point, I know how expensive social media agencies are. I know how expensive branding agencies are. Graphic designers are certainly not cheap. Jessica, there's so many things that you've been able to, you and the team, of course, have been able to bake into Mowie. What's your view on that future / kind of present already of where do agencies fit into this and what powers are now available to us as business owners?
I knew you would ask that question. Coming from the agency world, like I spent about, that's where I actually really started really appreciating the powers of, technology. This was, early in the days of cloud. I was building the digital assets. And yes, agencies can be expensive because, it's a lot of human power, a lot of talent, and a lot of, creative magic that goes into that. And to me, I believe, and I still believe, that the role of agencies and the role of creative is not going to go away. I think that's really, that's their superpower, as a creative, being able to take, let's say, what a Mowie or a different tool like a ChatGPT would offer as your research and as your strategy. Creatives will still have the leverage to, pull off the bigger, bolder campaigns, the ones that you pay a lot of money for, YouTube advertising or television advertising or billboards, right? I think that AI can definitely produce content that's really good for email marketing and for social media. But I think, that creative aspect in terms of what agencies can do in terms of the storytelling piece, and you still need to have a human in the loop. And even with Mowie, even with all these tools available, we still have approval processes that we require that there is a human in the loop as part of the team, as part of, let's say, the brand's team, approving all the content and looking at the content, and creating their own content if they would like, to test Mowie's content against what they feel should be. And so I believe the role of agencies will, as we have seen, is definitely going to be a smaller role when it comes to delivering all this marketing and advertising. But it's still very focused on the creative. It could still be very focused on the creative aspect of creating the magical content and storytelling that we all look for as humans.
It's really well
my
said.
point of view. Yes.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you, Jessica, because I see, like, for example, today you and I can start creating AI music. I'm certainly not a musician, and so when I go on social media and I see what real musicians are creating with AI music, it's unbelievable because it really unleashes their inner talents and their skills that they've been developing over years. And when they can leverage that and combine it with AI, it's so much more powerful. Whereas I could create a song, but it's going to be absolutely terrible. So
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. I want to squeeze, I knew time would fly by with you, but I want to squeeze two quick questions in. And so the first question is about timeline and about roadmap and about the fact that there's no limit to what's possible these days. You can build anything. And I know that you and Chris have such a really cool co-founder dynamic, and you both bring different skills to the table. With that in mind, you're looking ahead at what's going to be a very exciting 12 months here in 2026. How do you, as a founding team, how do you make sense of, okay, in Q1, here's what we're going to focus on. In Q2, this is what we hope to do with the product, with the marketing, with the feature set. How do you, at an executive level, make those decisions and map that out?
Yes, so we talk every day, and every day it changes, right? Depending on, but we do have quarterly goals that, we set for ourselves, both on the GoGoGuest side and Mowie, right? And today, what we're really focused on is bringing our expertise and our learnings from GoGuest, as we understand the restaurant, the retail, as well as the DTC, marketplaces and communities, and the challenges around creating magical marketing moments using content. Those are the three categories that we're focused on in terms of building out the business, in terms of onboarding, in terms, as part of also, building a company and growing a company. We're also focused on, fundraising this first quarter. So we're focused on raising pre-seed and seed to grow and expand the feature sets of Mowie and make it available to bigger companies versus the companies that we're targeting today, which is mostly in the SMB as well as SME space. So single location up to 20 locations today are the brands that are in private beta. And so when you're supporting a brand, let's say like a Starbucks or a McDonald's, these are global brands. You definitely need more capital to be able to do things well and better. So.
Yeah, Jessica, I also love that open acknowledgement that things change every single day. It's the real trait of what it means to be an entrepreneur, being flexible, but also obviously moving in that right direction. So I love the fact that you guys are always adjusting your sales based on that wind. And let's face it, it's a fast moving world these days. So kudos to you and Chris for making sense of it. The last question, I ask this at the end of every episode, is what's your best piece of advice for listeners? Knowing that we're being listened to by both entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs at all different stages of their own growth journeys, and knowing that you are one of us, you're a fellow entrepreneur, what's that one thing that you want to leave them with today?
I think what's really helped me thrive and sustain this level of focus and excitement about the work that we do is really knowing why you're doing it, and I think that question is definitely answered by both your personal needs and your professional needs. Like, if you ask me today, would I go back to corporate and work for a big company? It's going to be really tough for me to say yes. So, and I asked this, every year. Like, I was like, oh, should we continue? And my answer is always like, I really enjoy what I'm doing, and I really enjoy how I'm able to navigate life, because I feel like I have more control. Being able to make those personal choices without worrying about a 9 to 5 job, right? And so that would be a big consideration, because and then the second piece is like, know that the journey is a big part of it, and it's a long game. You don't start being an entrepreneur because you have short-term goals and this is not something you want to do 2 years from now, right? It's a long game, and it can be very fun and exciting, and also very rewarding. You just really need to know the you know what you really need to know what would make you get up every day and be excited about what you do. And I think it really takes a lot of grit to be entrepreneurs the way we are. Like, you've been in this game for 20 or 2 decades now, and so and I think when you say grit, there's a lot of passion there, there's a lot of focus, there's also a lot of resilience, but curiosity, and to me, I'm still just learning. I'm learning a lot every day, learning just learning a lot, and so to me, that's really, really fulfilling and rewarding as well.
I love that advice for our listeners. Jessica, I resonate so much with that. I oftentimes remind myself, I'm like, I feel entirely unemployable at this point. And I think that that's part of it, because it is such a personal challenge. And for those of us, I'm sure, obviously, I know a little bit about some of your hobbies. I'm sure that you're also a competitive person, and it's about competing with the best version of ourselves. Is how can we always be growing? We are never stagnant. And I so appreciate how much you've shared of that side of your entrepreneurial journey with all of our listeners. I said to somebody off air the other day, I said, even though I'm 17 years into my entrepreneurial journey, it still feels like I'm just getting started all the time. And I think that's such a fun, fresh feeling. So, Jessica, you've been a wealth of knowledge and insights. I'm so grateful for the way you've shared. But I also know that listeners are going to want to check out all the cool things that you're up to with Mowie, and all the things that you've already built and you continue to grow with GoGoGuest. So for listeners who want to find all your cool and great stuff online, drop those links on us. Where should listeners go from here?
Yes, so you can find and check out Mowie on Mowie.ai. We also have an Instagram, and sorry, I don't remember Instagram hashtag, but I think it's try Mowie. You can also find me on LinkedIn as Jessica Valenzuela, and I'd be happy to, in either channels, be happy to answer any questions about AI, about technology, about entrepreneurship in general. And you're also welcome to send an email to jessica@mowie.ai if you'd like.
Yes, I love that. No worries about real-time links, because listeners, you already know the drill. We're dropping all of those links down below in the show notes, no matter where it is that you're tuning into today's episode. So if you're driving, please don't worry about remembering any of these links. You can always find them and just click on through directly. We're linking to the Mowie website. We're linking to GoGoGuest, as well as Jessica's personal LinkedIn. So don't be shy in reaching out. Otherwise, Jessica, on behalf of myself and all the listeners worldwide, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Thanks so much, Brian. It's a pleasure. Thanks, everybody.